Guys, University Disciplinary Center is proud to present What is ABA by Melanie Fernandez, BCBA and LBA. Melanie.
Thank you, Caesar. Hope everyone is doing well today. Thanks for joining. So today we'll be talking about what is ABA and diving into a little bit of the ABCs of behavior. So what is applied behavior analysis? It's basically the science of behavior. Applied behavior analysis is the process of systematically applying interventions based upon the principles of learning theory to improve socially significant behaviors to a meaningful degree, and to demonstrate that the interventions employed are responsible for the improvement in behavior. So in other words, we use evidence-based procedures to improve any kind of maladaptive or interfering behaviors while also teaching replacement behaviors and more appropriate socially acceptable behaviors. There are 7 dimensions of ABA. The first one is generalization. So these are skills taught in one environment that maintain over time and different environments. So when we teach a skill, we want to make sure that it is a skill that's taught, let's say, at home, but then the child or person is able to do it in the school, in the community, wherever they may go. Then we know they definitely have that skill. Effective is the next one. So interventions are monitored to evaluate the impact on the target behavior and that enough change was produced that it results in meaningful improvement. So we want to make sure that what we are teaching is having an impactful change on the individual. Technological is the next one. Procedures are described clearly and concisely so that others may implement accurately. This is a big one, a big important dimension, and you'll see it in all our FBAs, and a lot of times we're asking for specific information. This is so that when we're looking at a behavior or a skill set, anyone can pick up that FBA or pick up that program and know exactly what behaviors we're looking for, what skills we're teaching, how we're teaching it. So it's just very important that we have very specific details for that. Applied socially significant behaviors are selected. So we're only going to teach behaviors that basically matter to that individual. We're not going to teach someone in, let's say, Miami, what a shovel is, or a snow plow, because chances are they're not going to come in contact with that in their natural environment. Conceptually systematic. So interventions are consistent with principles demonstrated in the literature and utilize principles of behavior and learning in their descriptions. Analytic. ABA utilizes efforts that show that interventions are effective and reliable, such as through data-based decision-making and experimental design. So we are a data-driven field. We love data, we love numbers. That is how we can show that our treatments are working and are demonstrating lasting effects. And then lastly, we have behavior, and that is observable and measurable behaviors that are targeted. So anytime we're talking about behaviors, we want them to be something that is easily observed, and we have the ability to measure it in some capacity. So the ABCs of behavior. A stands for antecedent, and we'll get into all the definitions in the next few slides. B is for behavior, and then C is for consequence. So you may hear this often where we may say, oh, we need some ABC data. We need to know what is happening, what the chain of events are. And this is what's going to help us later on identify the functions of behavior and any kind of patterns with this individual's behavior. So antecedents, this is what happens immediately before specific behavior. This can include the setting, people, objects, events, and anything else that may be going on around the time. An antecedent may include something added or presented, such as a demand, a task, or a prompt. It may also include something being removed, such as being told no, a preferred item being taken away, transitions, losing an item, etc. It can also be situational, where the person was left alone, there's no attention being provided, too much attention being provided, could be a noisy environment, anything that is likely to trigger a behavior to occur. So let's look at this example. Mr. Johnson's class was loud and unruly, and the students could not hear him asking them to lower their voices. He turned the lights on and off, and the students all stopped talking and directed their attention to Mr. Johnson. So we're going to look at the students' behavior here, which is they stop talking and direct their attention to Mr. Johnson. What do you guys think is the antecedent? You can feel free to drop it in the chat box if you want to take a stab at what the antecedent could possibly be for this behavior. And if Rita, if you can let me know if anyone shares anything in the chat.
I'm not seeing anything shared just yet.
Okay, we'll give it another minute or so.
And if they're joining from their phones, they may not be able to.
Looks like someone raised their hand.
I have made it so they can talk. If they unmute their microphone.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Oh, my chat says chat disabled. I just wanted to let you guys
no.
know.
It should be enabled now. Thank you for letting us know, though.
It works. Thank you.
Let's see if anyone drops anything now. Okay. So I'll go ahead and move on here. So the antecedent for this would be Mr. Johnson flicking the lights on and off. That is what occurred immediately before the behavior of them stopping and directing their attention over to him. Here we're going to talk about behavior. So behavior is anything that a person says or does. So it's not necessarily just a maladaptive behavior or an incompatible behavior or something interfering. Everything we do is behavior. Your attendance here is behavior, talking, breathing, right? Anything you do is considered behavior. So that's another reason why it's so important for us to have those specific and measurable definitions and be able to observe the behaviors occurring. So let's look at this example. We have Ms. Perez. She's completing assessments with some students in her class. She is showing them pictures of different animals and they need to label each one. She shows one of her students a picture of a bear and asks, "What animal do you see?" And the student replies, "That's a giraffe." Ms. Perez marked that trial incorrect. So can you identify the student's behavior in this case? Do we have any guesses in the chat?
No, I don't see any.
Okay, so here the student's behavior is saying that's a giraffe. So even though they answered incorrectly, that was still their behavior of responding to the question. And then C is consequence. So what happens immediately after the behavior occurs? And this is something that can be something positive. So we added something, whether it's praise or given access, or something negative, such as something being removed, right? That you've taken away access to something, you've taken away a reinforcing item, or you provided a reprimand. And sometimes nothing happens after a behavior too, and that's okay. But the important thing to note is when we're talking about consequences, it's whatever happens after the behavior, not just, oh, he got punished or I took this away. It's literally whatever we do after. Sometimes, like I said, that's something good, something bad, or sometimes nothing happens after. We just kind of move on. So here, remember Ms. Perez and her student? So Ms. Perez is completing these assessments and she's showing them the different animals. She shows one of her students a picture of the bear and asks, what do you see? And the student said, that's a giraffe. So she marked it incorrect. What was the consequence here? Did any learning take place? So in this case, the consequence is the teacher marked it incorrect. However, she didn't, where it doesn't say, right? So we're missing some information here, but based on the information provided, she didn't offer any teaching trials. She marked it incorrect, but didn't provide the correct answer. So in the future, the child is probably still likely to respond giraffe when they see the picture of the bear. Any questions? That was very brief, but any questions about ABA or the ABCs of behavior? Anything showing up there, Rita?
Not seeing anything.
Okay. Well, thank you all for joining us today for our What is ABA and ABC Data webinar. Next slide.